I'm about to run my very first half marathon. Hello and welcome to my marathon training update video. As I'm filming this, today is Friday, September 16th, 2022, and I'm getting ready for my very first half marathon tomorrow morning. That's 13.1 miles. Lucas and I signed up for the Wicked Half Marathon taking place tomorrow in Salem, Massachusetts. We did choose this run rather strategically. Not only is it closer to home, but it is also taking place at around our halfway point in our marathon training plan. In case you missed my video earlier this year, Lucas and I did sign up for our very first full marathon. We will be running with Run Disney over at Walt Disney World in January of 2023. We actually started training the day of registration day back in April of 2022, and we've just been following the Jeff Galloway beginner marathon training plan ever since. Now that we've reached the halfway point in our training plan, I figured that now is a good time to kind of check in with you guys and share about how the training has been going. I've also gotten some questions on Instagram about the gear that we've been using during our runs, and so I'm happy to kind of chat with you guys to share what we've decided to bring with us for our run tomorrow. The first part of this video will be chattier, and I'm planning on sharing about how we're preparing and how the training has just been going overall so far. And then the second half of this video is going to actually be a running vlog for our half marathon run tomorrow, and you guys will get to see how that goes. So if stats isn't really your thing, I totally get it. Feel free to skip to the second half of the video and you can see how our run goes tomorrow. Okay, so let's get into a training update. Thank you so much to those of you who decided to listen to our stats and how we've been spending our time basically the last few months. Our training plan is structured around 2 30-minute run days during the week and 1 long run over the weekend. So that long run does increase in distance over time. So I believe in the beginning of our training plan, we were running at 3 miles for those long runs, and now they've progressed obviously to 9 and 11 and 13. I will actually pull up a quick snapshot here on the screen just to kind of show you guys what I'm talking about. This is the plan recommended to us by Run Disney and Jeff Galloway, so it can kind of give you guys a visual on what we've been doing for the last few months in terms of training. What drew me towards Jeff Galloway's training plan is the idea of run, walk, run. The idea of running 26.2 miles straight just seems impossible, because it probably is impossible for me at least. Reading about other runners using the run, walk, run method that Jeff Galloway kind of shares, and how those runners have found success through his method really gave me hope that I too could find success using the Jeff Galloway run, walk, run method. I used to run plenty of 5Ks and 10Ks back in college, and I have very much slowed down in my pace since. At the beginning of our training, I couldn't even picture what 26.2 miles of running looked like, but since we started training, that number is definitely starting to feel more attainable now that I am committed to the run, walk, run method. I prefer to run at a 2-to-1 run, walk interval, so that's 2 minutes of running and 1 minute of walking. For my run intervals, I do tend to range between 8 minutes to 11 minutes depending on what my distance is for that day. And then for my walk intervals, I do try to cruise between 16 to 20 minutes per mile as my walking pace. With time, I found that each long run does get easier. For example, I used to think that running 4 miles was impossible, and I actually remember getting discouraged when we ran our May the 4th Be With You 4-miler. I felt pretty terrible after that run. I had sore knees and shin splints, shortly after, or at least following that run. And I remember, questioning myself, thinking like, if I can't even do 4 miles and feel great afterwards, like how am I gonna run 26.2 miles? But I truly believe that patience and time is truly what you need to reach your goals. Once we got to the 7 and 9 mile long distance runs, I definitely noticed that 4 miles felt like nothing. At that point, it actually felt easy, and my limits were definitely expanded for those long run days. And at the same time, I noticed that my pace was getting quicker for my 30-minute runs as well. For those who care about tracking and numbers, I'm actually going to put a quick snapshot on the screen right here to show you guys how my progress has been. Feel free to pause or not pause, depending if you'd like to analyze in depth, but overall, I would say that I'm just like any other runner. There are good weeks and bad weeks. There are runners who are faster than me, and there are runners who are slower than me. There are also weeks where we just had to pause our training to travel or due to illnesses. But the good news that I'd like to share is that I still believe that I am right on pace for my own personal goals. My ideal pace for tomorrow's half marathon is going to be under 18 minutes per mile. That is the pace that I need to run at in order to not get swept or in order to not run out of time. Each race is capped, and so if you can't complete a half marathon within 4 hours, you will be excused from the course, and that is not what I want to happen. I'm not aiming to be the fastest runner there. I am just aiming for completion without getting excused from the course. But with that said, that is the minimum pace for the course. I'm really hopeful that I'll be able to cruise around the 13 to 15 minute per mile pace. Basically, I still want to run at a pace where I can take breaks when I need to, but I of course want to make sure that I'm on track to finish the marathon that'll be taking place in January as well. That pace is actually going to be 16 minutes per mile as the cap. I'm hopeful that tomorrow's run will be a little bit more exciting than running around our neighborhood streets. I'm hoping that the views and the other people running around me will kind of boost my energy and my adrenaline, and I hope that I can complete the run and complete the goals that I've shared with you guys today. Fingers crossed that we will have a successful run day tomorrow. Okay, so now that you guys are all caught up on what we've been doing in terms of our training the last few months, I'd say it's about time for us to start heading over to Salem. Even though Salem is about an hour and a half from our home, Lucas and I did decide to book a hotel for tonight just so we could get an extra hour or two of sleep. So we are just about ready to head out in a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and gather the rest of our things, and once we get settled into our hotel later tonight, I will check in with you guys to share about the gear that we'll be bringing with us for race day. I'll talk to you guys in a couple hours. Okay, so we are now settled in at our hotel. I'm just staying at a quick Holiday Inn in the area. It's just a place to sleep and also a place to potentially shower tomorrow morning after the half marathon. Lucas and I made a quick detour before we made it to the hotel. We actually had a quick dinner over at Bertucci's. Had pizza and lasagna, just lots of carbs to get ready for tomorrow. Before we get some sleep, I did want to quickly show you guys the gear that we're bringing with us to the race tomorrow, as well as what we'll be wearing. So let me show you guys what we brought. Okay, so for tomorrow's run, I have laid out all the things that I'll be carrying with me while we're running. I have been practicing carrying most of these things during our training runs, and so I think I'll still be quite comfortable running with all of the things. 6 energy gels, 3 each, pack of Kleenex, small stack of blister band-aids, my Blink contacts eye drops, extra pair of contact lenses, a tablet of Gas-X, just in case I need it during the run, AirPods. Lastly is my GoPro Hero 7, planning on shooting some content for you guys. All of this does fit in my fanny pack. I always run with my Lululemon fanny pack or belt bag, whatever you'd like to call it. I do this even on not run days. Whenever we travel, I like to lay out our outfits for the following day. It just makes the mornings much smoother in my opinion. So I have laid out both of our outfits here. I'll start off with Lucas's favorite pair of running shorts, Nike dry fit shirt, features the ankle length, a running hat, in addition to his running sunglasses, which he actually left in the car. As for my outfit right here, pink sports bra, pair of feature socks, headband, tank top, black Nike shorts, thin jacket as kind of like a throwaway layer. You're allowed to throw away any extra layers by the 3rd mile. I will plan on wearing in the beginning of the run, and then I will shed that off later on. Okay, so that is all of the gear that we are wearing and that we're bringing for the half marathon. It's all a learning process, and so we'll find out tomorrow what works and what doesn't. Once we get to the race in the morning, we'll lace up in our Hoka shoes. You guys have seen them in a past video before. I feel ready. I think at this point we just want to get some sleep, make sure I get plenty of rest because tomorrow's the big day. So hopefully I can capture as much of the race as I can for you guys tomorrow. I know I have a couple of family members and some friends who kind of want to be brought along in our experience in our first race since they can't be here physically. So I'm going to do my best to document the day as best I can. So with that in mind, I'm going to get some sleep. So good night. Good morning, it is race day. We are up bright and early this morning. It is now 6:15 a.m. and Lucas and I just got to Salem Willows Park, which is where we're going to be starting the race. We just picked up our bibs and our shirts and we're officially checked in to get started here. The race starts at 7 a.m. so we do have 45 minutes. So we're just kind of hanging out in the car and staying warm until we're about to start. It is 50 degrees Fahrenheit right now, so it is a little on the chillier side. Hopefully by the time the sun actually rises, it'll warm up a little bit more and hit like the 60s, maybe low 70s. We'll see. But we're gonna go ahead and, stay warm and put these on and lace up. Lucas and I ran 13.1 miles this morning, completing my very first half marathon, and we actually clocked in under 3 hours, which I'm pretty proud of myself for. I have many thoughts to share about the experience, but to be quite honest with you guys, I am kind of exhausted and a mix of excitement, and so I feel like I need to kind of take a second to organize those thoughts before I give you guys a recap. For now, Lucas and I made it back to the hotel. Lucas is gonna jump in the shower, and I did a quick outfit change. I threw on the Wicked shirt that they were handing out to the participants, and then of course I am proudly wearing our medal. It actually like spins, which is kind of fun. I will check in again once we get back home and I'll do that recap for you guys, but for now I'm just feeling so proud of Lucas and I. Good morning. It is the following day. Yesterday on our way home from Salem, Lucas and I ended up getting lunch over at Chipotle, and then we also made a quick stop for ice cream because we felt like we both deserved it. So I didn't get a chance to pick up the camera and do this recap until just now. We basically came home, stretched, and then did nothing for the rest of the day. We were both exhausted. I didn't want to forget to film this video though because I wanted to take a moment to kind of talk to you guys about how the race went, how we kind of felt during the run, and how we feel now. To start, we are very sore. I feel it most in my quads as well as in my calves. Lucas reports about the same thing, but overall we are very sore, which of course is to be expected. We are reporting 0 injuries after yesterday's run, so calling that a win. I am also happy to report that I didn't feel any kind of discomfort with the running gear that I wore. The weather yesterday was like perfection. Of course, it was a little bit on the chillier side at the start of the race, but for me, the weather was much appreciated. At the start of the race, I actually switched up my intervals. I didn't feel comfortable and I didn't feel like it was safe for me to really start my run, walk, run intervals until I had a little bit more room to breathe on the course. Of course, when you first start the race, there's a bunch of people really close to you, and so it's not always safe to just stop running and walk. And so I decided to kind of keep a slower pace run, but even when I started the walk intervals, I actually started running 4 minutes and walking 1 minute instead of my usual 2-to-1 ratio. Maybe it's the adrenaline, maybe it's seeing other runners around us doing the same thing that motivated me, but I was actually able to hold on to that 4-to-1 ratio until about mile 5.5 or so. And it turns out that I kind of needed that head start at the beginning because this course had plenty of hills. There was one massive hill at the very beginning of the race that felt massive. I guess maybe maybe it wasn't that massive, but to me it was, because I've done 0 hill training. It was definitely a challenge for me. And then at around mile 6 to 8, there was also a series of hills as well as you go through this beautiful neighborhood. I will also say that for most of the run, I felt really great. I actually ended up using only 2 out of the 3 goos that we had packed. I took one at around mile 5 to 6, and then I took the second one at around mile 8 to 9. Just those 2 fuel stops alone made me feel really great, at least until the very end. I will say that the lowest low of the race for me was the very last mile. I felt like it was the longest mile I've ever ran in my life. It was brutal for me. That's when I started to feel all the muscles working. Each step felt so heavy. I knew that there wasn't going to be any water for that whole mile, and for some reason I felt dehydrated at that point. I don't know, I think it was all psychological and a mindset thing that I have to push through as we get past these longer runs. But thankfully I had Lucas there to encourage me through that last mile. He was really sweet, kind of pushing me and encouraging me and remotivating me to keep going, and that we only really had 1 mile left to go. And so before I knew it, we were crossing that finish line together at 2 hours, 45 minutes, and 37 seconds. So even with all the hills, even with the slowest mile of like my life, I ended up claiming a new PR for a half marathon distance. So really when I was running, I was shocked that we were under 3 hours. I thought the hills and the long mile at the end were gonna push me way past the 3-hour goal that I had in mind. But as I turned the corner and I saw the clock and it said 2 hours and 44 minutes, I booked it. That was the fastest sprint. I don't know where I got that energy from, but I ran towards that finish line, and Lucas kept up with me and we ran through that finish line together. I will also admit that I was very emotional once we crossed the finish line, hence why I didn't get a chance to vlog the finish line moment. Sorry about that. I'll try and get that for Marathon Day in January. I was just so proud of us. I was excited. I was happy. I was surprised that we were under 3 hours, and I just felt so happy and proud of the both of us for setting this goal and conquering it together. Today, as I'm filming this, I'm still in a little bit of disbelief that we actually ran a half marathon yesterday. I used to think that running 13.1 miles is impossible and unattainable, and now look, here we are today. And so I'm just so proud of the progress that we've made so far, and I'm only just more excited to continue training and working towards our goal of running a full marathon in January of 2023. So I think that's all that I have for you guys today. I just wanted to kind of chat with you guys about, you know, the race, how I feel now, what's kind of next. Thank you so much for joining us as we ran my very first half marathon and Lucas's second half marathon. I'm gonna do my best to keep you guys updated on how training's going throughout the next few months or so. There's of course plenty of room for improvement, and I'm just so excited to see how the second half of our marathon training plan is going to go for us. We hope you'll continue following along our running journey, but until the next video, I'll talk to you guys soon.